Are you excited to learn more about the One Piece live action? Well, there's a few ways to find information about it. You can go through hours upon hours of watching interviews with the producers. You can search through various articles about it from the last 6 years, or you can go through every producer, director, and cast members' Instagrams and Twitters to find the little bits of information they share here and there. Oh, you don't want to do that? Well, you don't have to, because I did, and I took every single detail I learned and put it in this video. I'm talking about the cast, the producers, the photos and videos we got of the sets, the release date, the story of how the live action even came about, the training the cast is doing, what content the first season will cover, what involvement Oda has in the series. All this and more, I will cover in this video. Let's get into it. Sometime from 2014 to 2016, Tomorrow Studios obtained the rights to produce a One Piece live action. The next step was to assemble a team that Oda would approve of. You might recognize the name Matt Owens. He's one of the two showrunners for the series. In a recent video with Nuxtaku, Matt explains how he convinced Tomorrow Studios he was the right man for the job.
When I first met with Tomorrow Studios, when they had the rights, I said to them in my first meeting, I don't know if this can be done, but I also know that if it's going to get fucked up, I have to be the one to try and fuck it up, because you're not going to beat anybody in this industry that knows or loves One Piece more than me.
Having convinced Tomorrow Studios he was the right man for the job, the next step was to convince Oda. At some point, again from 2014 to 2016, Matt Owens met with Oda in the Shonen Jump offices to pitch their idea for the live action. In this meeting, Matt explained what his strategy would be for adapting One Piece, while also trying to convince Oda how he knew and loved the series. Oda had received and turned down numerous offers to adapt One Piece at this point, and by the end of the meeting he was still wary. However, in Japan, it's standard to meet for dinner after business meetings. At this dinner, Oda apologized to Matt if he came off as rude or harsh, but he wanted the people who adapt the series to understand how much One Piece means to him, and how everything in the story is intricately planned and for a reason. Matt replied, explaining that in his early 20s, he went through a period of extreme depression. During this time, he was looking for a series that could take up all his time, and he found One Piece. And he explained to Oda that one of the great things about One Piece was that it's really a story about how everyone has pain and tragedy in their life, but it's not what defines you. What defines you is how you use that to motivate you. And no one has to be alone. When you find the people that will motivate you and lift you up, that's the greatest power in the world. And next he told Oda, I know One Piece means a lot to you. It means a lot to me too, because I honestly think that One Piece saved my life. Oda reached his hand across the table, looked Matt in the eye, and told him that he had 100% faith in him. After this point, work began on making the One Piece live action a reality. On the 20th anniversary of One Piece in 2017, Oda announced the live action to the public, saying, I received numerous offers for live action adaptations for One Piece. 3 years ago, I finally decided to take a step forward on a live action adaptation. After twists and turns, I met the right partner. It's a great coincidence, yet pleasure, that I'm able to announce the live action adaptation today on the 20th anniversary of One Piece. The first condition I presented is that the live action will be faithful to the fans who have supported One Piece for 20 years. I expect to hear worries from fans, but more than that, I'm looking forward to hearing the excitement. After the statement, more than 2 years went by without any news whatsoever about the live action, but that changed in 2020 when Oda released this statement. I know I announced the production of this back in 2017, but these things take time. Preparations have been slowly progressing behind the scenes, and it seems that I can finally make the big announcement. Netflix, the world's leading streaming entertainment service, will be lending us their tremendous production support. This is so encouraging. How far will the story progress over the 10 episodes of Season 1? Who will be in the cast? Please be patient a little longer and stay tuned. Following this announcement, we started to slowly but consistently get more news about the live action. Luckily for you, I compiled all the information from these announcements, along with the information from other sources, into various categories. First, who are the producers and directors and how much experience do they have? Before we get to the individual people, let's start with the three main companies in charge. Netflix, which needs no introduction, Shueisha, the company that owns Shonen Jump, and lastly Tomorrow Studios, which might worry some of you because that's the same company that produced the live-action Cowboy Bebop, which of course was not received well. However, let me put an end to some of your worries, because what matters most is the people in charge of writing, directing, and producing the series. Don't worry, I'm not going to go over each one, but there are 23 of these people working on the One Piece live action. Of those 23 people, only 3 of them have worked on both live actions, and of those 3 people, 2 of them are the head honchos of Tomorrow Studios, so to some extent they are involved in every Tomorrow Studios production. What I'm trying to point out by explaining this is that the 2 live actions are made by 2 completely different teams, which for better or worse will result in 2 completely different end products. Now that you know the companies, let's talk about the people. First up is someone that's already been mentioned a couple times in this video, one of the 2 showrunners, Matt Owens. As a writer, he worked on Luke Cage, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and also on The Defenders. Next up is the other showrunner for the series, Steven Maeda. Steven has worked as a producer and or writer on CSI Miami, Lost, X-Files, Lie to Me, and Daybreak. And not to flex, but I may or may not be friends with him on Pokemon Go. Now for the directors, we start with Mark Jopps, who has worked on The Witcher, Daredevil, Hannibal, and Luke Cage. Emma Sullivan is next, and she has worked on Doctor Who, Silent Witness, and Call the Midwife. There's also Tim Southam, who has worked on Bates Motel, Lock and Key, Lost in Space, and House. And the last director is Josef Vladka, who's known for his work on Narcos and Tokyo Vice. And that's all the important people behind the scenes of the One Piece live action. Well, actually it's not, because I've yet to mention the single most important person in the entire production, and that's of course Oda. Although his technical title for the live action is executive producer, it's more like supreme executive producer, because he is heavily involved in the production. Every outline and every script is approved by Oda and his team, and anything they think needs to be changed is adjusted accordingly. For the casting, Oda was directly involved in deciding on who would get what role. In an interview with Ted Biaselli, one of the directors, he said that Oda would correct them in certain scenes, saying, "That's not what this scene is about, this is what this scene is about." So we know Oda isn't afraid to correct things that need correcting, and every change they made from the manga/anime to the live action was approved by him as well. And yes, there are some changes we know of, but more on that later. Basically, every single aspect of the live action that's even somewhat important was approved by Oda and or his team. In terms of understanding how the live action will play out, one of the most important aspects is the philosophies of the producers. Basically, what are they going for? Most of the answers we have to this question come from the various interviews Matt Owens has done. One thing I think a lot of people will be glad to hear is that they are not going for a dark tone. They want to keep One Piece what it is, a lighthearted show with serious moments. Another thing is that they aren't adding anything non-canon, but they are looking at future canon as a reference. Matt says his job is not to change the series in any way, it's to portray what already exists in the best way possible. When Matt was on the Reverie podcast, they were having a discussion about the censorship from the manga to the anime. For example, the change in how Zeph lost his leg. Matt was asked if they're censoring anything in the live action, and Matt replied saying they won't be dumbing anything down, but it's unclear whether he means they aren't dumbing anything down going off of the manga or the anime. He also confirmed the show will have a rating of TV-14. Matt has also stated that one of their main goals is to bring people into the wonderful series that is One Piece. The last and arguably most important thing you should know in terms of their philosophy comes from this quote from Matt. "If you boil One Piece down, it comes out as three things. It makes you laugh, it makes you cry, and it makes you go holy shit. Put one of those moments in every episode and we'll have done our job." Now I want to go over another very important thing in regards to the live action, and that is the budget. Straight out, I'm going to tell you, we don't know the exact numbers here, but we have many sources that give us an idea of the scale of the budget. After the announcement of the live action in 2017, the CEO of Tomorrow Studios, Marty Adelstein, stated, "I think this project could set a new record for the highest production cost in television drama history. The work's worldwide fame merits this scale of production." In May of 2022, Richard Brigland, the production designer for the live action, said that the budget of the show is comparable to a Marvel movie. And lastly, regarding the budget, we know that Netflix is giving this series the Stranger Things treatment, basically dumping endless amounts of resources into the production to allow it to do whatever it needs to do to succeed. So as you can tell, the live action will in no way be limited by its budget. And they have such a large budget that they can afford to spend more money on the smaller details that will make the world feel just that much more alive. For example, they built an entire ship, Alvida's ship, the Miss Love Duck, just to use it for part of a single episode. Up until now in the video, I've only really gone over the things going on behind the scenes, but now let's get to the juice, the stuff that's what you're going to see. We can kick it off with an overview of Season 1. Season 1 will have 10 episodes, with the length of these episodes most likely being 45 minutes to an hour long. In my research, I found a few scattered reports of there being a change from 10 episodes to 8 episodes, but I found absolutely nothing to confirm this, and everything I found points to there being 10 episodes. And we actually have the names of all these episodes, and they help to tell us pretty much exactly what content is covered in each episode. Episode 1 is Romance Dawn. You probably know what Romance Dawn is, but this will be Luffy's initial backstory as well as his run-in with Alvida where he meets Kobe. This episode will also encompass the Shell Island arc where we meet Zoro, and the episode will end with Kobe meeting Garp. Episode 2 is An Old Friend of Mine. This episode will be the Orangetown arc where we meet Buggy. Episode 3 is Captain of 8,000 Men. This obviously will be the Syrup Village arc, where we meet Usopp, defeat Kuro and the Black Cat Pirates, and get the Going Merry. Episode 4 is Cooks of the Sea. This will cover the start of the Baratie arc, we will meet Sanji, and it will most likely end with Mihawk arriving. Episode 5 is A Frog in the Well. The name of this episode is referencing what Mihawk says to Zoro during their fight. This episode will cover the second part of the Baratie arc, including Zoro vs Mihawk, and will end with Sanji joining the crew and Nami stealing the Going Merry. Episode 6 is Arms and Sharks. Episode 7 is Tangerine Grove. These 2 episodes will cover the start of the Arlong's arc and will include Nami's backstory. Episode 8 is the Maw of the Shark and will cover the Arlong Park part of Arlong's arc. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Episode 9 is The End and the Beginning. This episode will most likely start with the end of Arlong's arc and will continue into Loguetown. The name of the episode, The End and the Beginning, I believe is referring to Gold Roger's death or his end, which triggered the beginning of the Great Pirate Era. The final episode, episode 10, is simply called Grand Line. This will cover the end of Loguetown as well as Reverse Mountain, possibly ending the season with us seeing La Boone. One question I'm sure some people are curious about is, will all 10 episodes drop at once or will they be released weekly? I can tell you confidently, I don't know. My best guess is that Netflix will release episodes weekly. I'm hoping they've seen how they killed the hype for JoJo Part 6 by releasing it in batches, as well as I hope they see how well The Last of Us is doing, releasing episodes weekly and maintaining hype every week. Let's talk about the cast. First up is the man, the myth, the legend, Inaki Godoy as Luffy. Although prior to filming we are unaware of him doing any special training for his role, he recently revealed that he would embark on a 3-month journey around the Caribbean seas. Unlike Luffy, however, he's going to cook, clean, and assist in navigating the vessel between islands. Next up is the Chad, Makenyu Arata as Zoro. Although we don't know the full extent of his preparation for the role, we do have this picture showing him practicing fighting using 3-sword style. Now for the Queen, Emily Rudd as Nami. For her, we actually don't have any videos or pictures of her practicing, but as is the same with every other actor playing an important role, we can be sure she is practicing behind the scenes. One interesting thing about Emily Rudd, however, is that before she was cast, Steven Maeda made a post on Twitter asking for fan input on who should play Nami. Multiple people suggested Emily Rudd due to her love for the character and her resemblance to the character. In fact, the top 3 liked suggestions were all Emily Rudd. Next is the liar, Jacob Gibson as Usopp. Similar to Emily Rudd, we don't have images or videos of him practicing for his role. And as you can see, there have been some rough moments for him on set. Lastly in the main cast is La Chef Taz Skylar as Sanji. I saved him for the end because out of all the crew members, we have the most pictures and videos of him practicing. He's actually been training in martial arts since before he was cast as Sanji. He has also been taking cooking classes. You can see his cooking on full display here. And Taz actually has a difficult past regarding food. Here's a quote from him. Through my early 20s, I went through some pretty severe eating disorders, anorexia and bulimia, and so I had to completely emotionally detach myself from food to get through it. For those who have had those disorders, or even the ones going through it in some way now, you soon learn that it's not something you can ever fully get rid of once you've had it. The best you can hope for is to manage it, and I do now. I'm proud of how far I've come in handling the demons that pushed me into the disorders in the first place. And now with Sanji, I get to reconnect with food in a way that's about finding the joy and pleasure in feeding others, making sure that everyone is well fed, and finding new ways to even make the food I've been used to eating myself taste and look better. The next casting is Craig Fairbrass as Chef Zeph, and I'm showing Zeph's actor right after Sanji's because the two actually have worked together previously. In fact, the One Piece live action isn't the first time Craig Fairbrass will have played the role of a father figure to Taz Skylar. It's not even the second time. That's right, the live action will be the 3rd time Craig Fairbrass has played a father figure to Taz Skylar, so we can expect an amazing performance out of the two. Before I talk about the rest of the cast, I want to talk about and show some of the bonding the crew is doing. We have tons of pictures and videos of the crew hanging out. As you probably noticed, I've been showing these pictures in the background, but I'm going to shut up for a bit and show you some of the videos.
Good. It's so tasty. I love it. I can't stop eating it. It's great.
So this is a good point to talk about an issue you might have noticed from the photos and videos. Makenyu, the actor for Zoro, isn't seen or mentioned in a single photo or video. As for why this is, there's a few theories. The first theory, and most likely theory, I found in an article that says Zoro actually won't be in the first season. In fact, Makenyu never even made it to the set. There's reports that his plane made it to the filming location, but on the way to the set, Makenyu disappeared. He took a wrong turn and got lost. Legend has it that to this day, he's still trying to find his way to the set. Okay, sorry, I was obligated to make that joke. So the first actual theory that makes the most sense is that Japanese talent agencies are extremely strict about appearing on social media. So without direct permission from his agency, he can't even post to his own social media, much less appear in other people's. To be clear, we do not know for sure that McKenyu's agency is this strict, but this is the most likely situation. The other possible theory is he just didn't fit in with the rest of the crew, so he didn't hang out with them. But you saw how friendly the actors in the crew seemed, so my hunch is that the first theory is what's going on there. Okay, back to the cast. And for the rest of the cast, I've separated them into two sections. The first is the cast of characters that are really important and or are characters that will appear after season 1. The second section is the cast of characters that aren't very important and or won't show up in later seasons. So here goes the first section. Morgan Davies is Kobe. Jeff Ward is Buggy. McKinley Belcher III is Arlong. Vincent Reagan is Garp. Peter Gadiot is Shanks. Colton Osorio is Young Luffy. I can't pronounce the first name. Morgan Katu is Lucky Roo. Hey, that rhymes. Stephen Ward is Mihawk. Lily Fisher is Young Nami. Stevel Mark is Yasop. Adrian Scott is Helmeppo. For the second section, I'm going to show their pictures as I continue with the video. For any characters I did not mention, we do not currently know who is playing them. The only really important character I can think of that we don't know the casting for is Smoker. Maybe a super famous actor is going to play him or something, who knows. On the note of famous actors, you might have noticed that throughout the main cast and non-main cast, there's probably not a single actor you even recognize. The reason for that is that One Piece is a long series, and assuming the live action does well, they don't want to have to worry about replacing actors as time goes on. If they hired super famous people for these parts, it's very likely the scheduling would not work for filming in the future. All this being said, there is one famous actress that wants to have a role in the live action, should it get a season 2. Jamie Lee Curtis is a fan of One Piece and has expressed interest multiple times in playing Kureha, so hopefully we get a season 2 and get to see that. Now for the scariest part of this video. What changes are they making to the series? One change you might have seen is from the most recent announcement. Luffy is not wearing sandals, but instead shoes. I don't think too many people really cared about this, but regardless, it was being discussed across the fanbase. And when the actress for Nami, Emily Rudd, was asked why they changed this is what she said. All of us did as much of our own stunt work as we were allowed, and if we didn't, it was usually due to safety, which is where our incredible and beyond talented stunt team came in. Sandals unfortunately are not the safest footwear to do stunt work in, and we didn't want y'all to miss out on the amazing work Inaki can do, and did. Pretty straightforward, and in my opinion this change just isn't a big deal. The next change is that they have tweaked Sanji's character a bit, so instead of being a huge simp, he's more flirtatious now. This was done for a couple of reasons. The more obvious reason is that with Sanji's original behavior, it comes off more jokingly in anime and manga, and would come off more like sexual harassment in live action. And the second reason, which also applies to any comedic changes in the series, is that they are adapting a manga that was written in 1997 to live action in 2023. The tastes of viewers have changed in that time, and some things needed to be tweaked. While talking about changes in the series, Matt Owens said, "Any changes are about trying to make it palatable to a larger audience." I'd be lying if I said I wasn't somewhat worried about the changes to the comedy in the series. The scariest thing is that until the series releases, we don't know how far they're going to go with these changes. However, the thing to remember here is that everything is approved by Oda, and if they were going to make any changes that would take away from the series, Oda would have stopped them. Another thing Matt said is that they are not making any changes based on their opinions. The example he used is, "Oh, I don't like this part of the fight with Arlong, so let's change it." No, that's not a reason to change it, and they are not changing things like that. Any changes are changes that are necessary in adapting the series to live action. When asked the hardest part in adapting One Piece, Matt replied saying there were two things that were difficult. One is adapting the comedy, as I've already mentioned, and the other difficulty they had was adapting the episodic nature of early One Piece. Basically what this means is that specifically in just the East Blue Saga, there's a lot of arcs that are very disconnected. If you compare the Marineford Saga to the East Blue Saga, what I'm trying to say makes more sense. In the Marineford Saga, you start with Sabaody, and Sabaody ends with Luffy, against his will, being sent to Amazon Lily. At the end of Amazon Lily, he goes to Impel Down in order to try to save Ace, who he thought was there. In Impel Down, he finds out Ace was brought to Marineford and goes there to save him. The arcs in the Marineford Saga have direct connections and very straightforward reasons for why Luffy is going to each island. In the East Blue Saga, however, with the exception of Barati to Arlong Park, none of the arcs are connected. In the live action, they are trying to find ways to strengthen the connections between the arcs. I want to end the changes section of this video with some things I think are cool or reassuring. In a video with Nux Taku, Matt was asked if there would be any romance added to the series, and Matt replied,
No!
He also said that the crew is a family, and it would just ruin the characters to add romance where it does not belong. Matt also said something cool. He said to look out for Easter eggs. More specifically, he said look out for wanted posters, newspapers, and bits of dialogue. Quickly, I do want to say that the crew and Oda all have said that they think the live action is good. Matt Owens has said that he thinks they found the sweet spot of both changing the things they had to change and staying true to the source material. And here's a statement from Oda he released right after filming concluded. The One Piece live action is making progress. For now we have the base footage of season 1. So much went on behind the scenes, but if I'm being honest, the most worried person in the world that this will turn out good is me, LOL. But it actually looks amazing. There's a ton of examples of the crew being confident in the final product, but obviously we do have to recognize that no one who worked on it is gonna trash it. This being said, they don't have to say it's good either, so these statements still do give me more faith in the live action. Next, I'm going to go over the information we have about the filming of the live action. First of all, where are they filming? They are filming in Cape Town, South Africa at Cape Town Live Studios. The president of South Africa actually visited the set and gave a speech about the production, stating it's the biggest Netflix production ever in Africa in terms of scale and budget. Also, he talked about how they have hired a lot of South African people to the crew. Here's what he said about that. One Piece, which is set in Cape Town, involves more than 50 South African cast members, more than 1,000 crew member jobs, consisting of 67% previously disadvantaged individuals and 46% youth employees, as well as an Academy of Creative Excellence mentorship program for more than 30 young creatives and technicians in collaboration with the South African Film Academy during 2022. A really important person I want to talk about in relation to the filming is Nicole Hirsch Whitaker, one of the cinematographers for the live action. In an interview with her, we found out some of the things she did for the series. First of all, she watched the entire One Piece anime so she would know more about the series. Another thing she did was reach out to cinematographers who have worked on series with boats. She reached out to Paul Cameron, who worked on Pirates of the Caribbean, and also someone who worked on The Life of Pi. She also helped to design camera lenses from scratch specifically to use for the live action, so they could film it exactly how they wanted to. She also referenced Marvel as a film series that did an excellent job of adapting characters to fit modern day culture. I want to share this quote from her. There will always be fans and critics. You can't please everyone, but at the heart of it, the most important thing is the story. And if the story isn't there, and that doesn't grab the viewers, it doesn't matter what you do. We can only hope that we're going to gain a new audience and people that find it fascinating and interesting. The next thing regarding filming is how they are filming the underwater scenes. The main scenes underwater will be in Sanji's flashback, as well as when Luffy gets stuck underwater in Arlong Park. Here's a quote about the underwater filming from Jason Martin, who's one of the people who worked on it. We've been filming at Cape Town Film Studios in the deep water tank. There are various scenes that require VFX elements and scenes with key actors underwater. The Frog Squad is a one-stop shop for these sequences, working hand in hand with the stunt team and creatives. We provide the dive supervisor, commercial divers, water safety, and underwater camera team. Frog Squad also provides the underwater cameras, underwater comms, and diving equipment, as well as the working platforms underwater. We spent weeks training the various cast for the sequences, making sure they are comfortable and able to work on scuba. The training includes the doubles and the younger cast as well. I'm sure you're wondering how they're going to do special effects like Luffy's stretching. We don't currently have any videos to show us yet, but I think it's likely we'll see it in a trailer prior to release. For now though, Matt Owens has said that they did a ton of research into different methods for special effects because they wanted to make everything look as cool as possible. The filming itself started in February of 2022 and wrapped up in August of 2022. In total, the filming lasted around 30 weeks. COVID did have a massive impact on filming in both fortunate and unfortunate ways. Originally, the filming was supposed to start in 2020, so COVID pushed back the live action 2 whole years. The fortunate part of this, however, is that the production team took this time to improve the stuff they already had. The next topic is set and costume design. I've been showing the photos we have of the sets, so by now you've seen how fantastic they look. I like how they stay true to the original work while actually improving on it and making it look even better. In the video playing on screen right now, you can see the concept art for the dining room of Barati. I think it looks amazing, and it adds a uniqueness to the dining room that just wasn't found in the anime and manga. Assuming they improve other settings in the same way, I think we're going to see some of the coolest set designs you can find in TV shows and movies. In this photo we just got recently, you can see that for the costumes, they are directly following the anime and manga to a T, minus the sandals. We also have these photos of the marine costumes, and I think they look good as well. When you think about it, the photos and videos we have of the sets and costumes are the only thing we have seen from the series so far that will actually be what we watch. And considering the set and costume design so far look phenomenal, it gives me a lot of confidence that everything we haven't seen will be just as good. I only have one more topic to go over, and that is the release date. Once again referencing the recent announcement, we know for a fact that the show will be released in 2023. There are unconfirmed reports of an exact release date. That date is August 31st, 2023. Once again, this is not confirmed, but it does seem like a realistic timeline for the show to be released. I had two goals in making this video. The first goal was to compile every piece of information we knew about the One Piece live action into a single video so that you can watch it and know what to expect from the series. My second goal was to convince people that it's going to be good and to give it a chance. Why? Because my single biggest fear with the live action is that people are going to gradually go from expecting it to fail to wanting it to fail. And when you want a series to fail and be bad, you're going to find reasons why it's bad. So I asked myself, how can I convince people it's going to be good? Well, as I researched the live action, the more I learned, the more I myself became confident it would succeed. And at some point it hit me. All I had to do is just tell people the facts. The good, the bad, the ugly, leave nothing out. Any detail I learned about the One Piece live action during my research is in this video. Because when you put all the different things we know together, it's almost hard to think that they're gonna fail. And even if you don't trust the production crew with One Piece, you have to trust Oda with One Piece. And he's put his faith into the production crew and from the very beginning guided them in the right direction. Subscribe if you want to be kept updated on the One Piece live action. Thank you for watching, stay slippery, butter out.
But you can't hide.